Welcome again to the Automotion Components video, and this time I'm going to be discussing the Automotion Components X-Rail system. So the whole idea about the X-Rail system is that these rail systems are used for applications where there's not a high degree of accuracy required, but what is important about this rail system is that it is cost effective. So I'd also like to introduce you first of all to the fact that there are two different materials here, and there's the standard zinc plated steel, which you can see here, but the nice thing about the X-Rail system is it also comes in a 316 grade stainless steel, and that's very useful for outdoor applications and washdowns. So what we have here is the three different sizes of the X-Rail. So this is the smallest, this is the size 20 X-Rail. And then we step up to the size 30, so that's getting a little bit more chunkier, can take quite heavy loads. And then we're talking about the much larger size 45, which is pretty heavy duty. What happened first with the X-Rail system is that the system was made in one profile only, which was what I call the T-Rail version. This is where the slider is enclosed is retained within the linear rail system. But what was apparent after a period of time is that some people also wanted to have the same master and slave rail combination as the compact rail system has. So what we then brought out a little bit later on was the slave rail, which is much more of a channel, and this will allow the sliders to move and take account of any misalignment in the structure. But quite a lot of people just simply use one or two of these standard T-rails, but for other applications some customers like to use a T-rail and a U-rail. We aim to stock all of this linear rail system and sliders. We have a large stock here in the UK. This linear rail system is supplied in 1, 2 and 3 metre sections. Typically it has a hole pitch, well it does have a hole pitch of 80 millimetres. And it's a very easy running sliding system. So this is quite unique, that the sliders, so there are two sliders here. There's a low profile slider here, and there's a sort of a standard duty slider. But what's quite interesting about these slider systems is that they are based on two fixed bearings, which are these ones here, and one eccentric bearing. The nice thing about that being is with simple use of a key, we can adjust the preload on the eccentric bearing to push it against the rail, and this will make it stiffer or to run more freely. So for example, what we'll see here is that the central bearing here, if you probably can't see it, the central bearing here has a dot, and that indicates that that is the eccentric bearing, and that can be moved against the slider. So typically, and you'll see on the front here, two small dots which indicate the fixed bearing. Now when you install the system, you want to ensure that the load is being driven against the two fixed bearings at the bottom. So that's a good indication there. So very, very simple to use, and off you go. So typically, the rails, we prefer to have the rail systems installed in this plane because the radial loads that it can take are much greater than the axial loads. So that's a preferable option. Just to give you an idea, in terms of the steel, so this is the steel 30mm linear X-Rail system, that's about £34 a metre, and the sliders, these particular sliders here, are about £40 each. In terms of that, in stainless steel, the rail will be roughly double that price, but the slider only an extra 50%. So probably for a stainless steel slider, you're talking about £58, something like that. So again here, what we're showing on the size 45, and this is the stainless steel version, we are showing here the two different types of sliders, and then we've also got here the U version. Now just out of interest, the U version only has one slider, because you can't use these lower profile sliders inside the U channel because the slider body would bottom out on the top of the rail. So just to show you as well, on the stainless steel bearings, what we've got here is we've got a rubber seal here, so that prevents any moisture going inside the bearings. So 316 stainless steel. The bearings are slightly harder stainless steel because they've got to be to run within the track, which is slightly less resistant to corrosion but still very corrosion resistant. So I'd just like to talk about the load capacities for the X-Rail system. And when I'm talking about the load capacities, I'm talking about the load capacities on a radial plane, so it's this plane here. So on the size 20 series, the load capacity of that slider is 30 kilos. So typically you'll have 2 sliders and 2 rails, so a system such as this could take loads of about 120 kilos. For the size 30 slider, the load capacity of each of these sliders is about 80 kilos, so 4 times 80 it can carry loads of up to 300 kilos. And then for the very large size 45, each one of these got 160 kilos capacity, so you can put about half a ton. That's on 4 sliders. Now clearly if you want to have more sliders, then the system can take the greater load. The misalignment, so if you have a T-rail and a U-rail and you're running them over a long distance, the misalignment over about 3 meters is in the region of 3 or 4 millimeters over that distance using the T-rail and the U-rail.